be able to do this. Okay, witness, witness. Come on, come on. You can do this. You can do this. Rise above the character. Get to the character level. Oh my God. Okay. A few days ago, I posted a bit impulsively, but harmlessly impulsive. There's a difference. A picture of this gift given to me by a new colleague in my Ironman world. It is a keychain that is a treble clef. It's music based. And it's got a heart, a star, and an eighth note. I think that's an eighth note. It's been a long time since I've read music, as this reminded me. This was given to me. I was going to say exactly a week ago, but it was last Thursday in Wisconsin at my most recent event. I also posted this, a picture that I painted, at least, I mean, I didn't really paint it, nothing that this is just one of my paintings, one of the things. I started writing on my paintings a few years ago and then beginning to paint over them, and that really stalled my painting because I found I didn't want to paint over the writing. So some of them I've gotten over that, and others, so they're all in different phases, but this one is called The Orchestra of My Life. And very much sort of a pictorial representation of what I'm living and what I'm also jumping in to begin to share, which is this very conscious living of my life like the giant art project that our lives are, that I believe that our lives are. With this newfound awareness that I really am the conductor. I really am the conductor of my own orchestra. And I've got a beautiful orchestra. And I have very specific sections of my orchestra identified. And in this, they're identified, and I've got multiple pieces of work that identify this. I've been playing with this for years. And they also could be synonymous with my sections of my orchestra. Trombones, the trumpets, the clarinets, the French horns, the bassoons, the flutes, the percussion. Could also be synonymous with storylines. And everything, like a musical note, has a frequency. And I am living and have been now for 6.5 years, living with such insane levels of consciousness that it will take time to even begin to reveal the tip of the iceberg of the work that's been consciously done in writing my own symphony. I've been writing my own symphony. And I can just as easily switch metaphors to storytelling. So, Ironman is one of many arms, one of many sections, one of many storylines, along with the farm, along with St. Anthony's, my hat that I have on, along with Microsoft, along with the University of South Florida, and segments within the University of South Florida, along with my most recent significant other, which will be clearly the most reserved for the most private of things, and likely not revealed hardly at all to almost anybody, but that is still represented on this painting. Seattle, specifically, not just Microsoft. My middle school, my high school, my family, my Sarasota world. These are all storylines weaving together. But today, I'm going to attempt to, it's not sharing one story. I'm weaving together 3 stories. And this is all live and in the moment and raw, and I've never done this like this before. First time. So one of the ways that I'm live here, shaking the nervousness about how this might be received. The first way is that there's probably only going to be a half dozen people that watch. But the second way is to state that right at the onset. This is behind the scenes still. Behind the scenes for what? I don't know exactly, but I can tell you it's close. Really close. So I'm weaving together. In this case, I like 3 because of the juggling in my life, and I'm gonna almost lay these teasers in some way. Kind of like a choose your own adventure. I don't know how far, this might die after this recording. But maybe the way that it comes out, what I'm hoping is perhaps something here comes out in a way that somebody out there feels like they want to hear more. And the ultimate intent is to spread love, the energy of abundance, the energy of cooperation, the energy of shifting consciousness, the energy of we can combine our realities, live our realities, we can tell a different human story. We can create a world of thriving versus surviving. We can create a world based in love and not based in fear. I'm here, that's what my work is, in sort of its most general way. And I'm going to be demonstrating that through the stories that I've lived personally. Some of them will be stories that I'm further removed from. Some of them, like this, are live, like almost in the moment. This is a week old. And even the story that I would have shared 3 days ago had I turned the recorder on is different than what I'm feeling compelled to share and what's coming out of me right now. Because I've had a little bit more time to process a really unbelievable event for the character of Alyson. And also, what ended up being a very intense event for a lot of people that I care about, including the woman that gave me this. It may not be clear after this recording. None of this will probably be clear. All I can tell you is this has, she wasn't even going to bring it to the meeting. We rode to the captain's meeting together. She said she was outside her hotel room on her way down because we were meeting for a ride. And she felt compelled, and it wasn't something she was conscious of or that she controlled. She went back into her room, used her key, went back into her hotel room, went into her luggage, and grabbed this. In her world, I can't even begin to do justice to explain what this means in her world. And as she shared some of this with me prior to giving this to me, I was blown away by this woman. Blown away by this almost 60-year-old woman who started running at 49 years old, and the reasons why. Like shivers multiple times throughout her sharing. And in my spiritual work, I read something once that suggested that when you get the chills and goosebumps, that's spirit in its presence. God, cosmos, universe, whatever you call it. Those are angels. That's like energy of the greater than us that's saying, I'm right there with you. And this woman exudes this. So it was crazy when she pulls this out and gives it to me. Explains, kind of how she comes about getting the select number of these that she gets for each of her events. And she gives them to people that inspire her. And I'm sitting there going, humbled beyond words. I was stupefied because this woman had blown me away with her selflessness and her courage and her strength and the ripple effect of what she has done in the running world and on for what causes. Blown away. And then when she shared that she wasn't even intending on bringing it, that coupled with our connection and all that we were talking about, we both knew it was spirit was present. And she definitely had no idea how much a musical note could possibly represent in my world right now. There was no way. I've only seen her at a handful of events. She was just hired this season to do the role that she's in. I barely know her. Now I feel like I know her at a soul level, and I will always be connected to her that deep. She could have had no idea how much a musical note would mean. And it also turns out, I think, or the way that I am choosing to interpret all that I'm feeling this week as I process this event and what ended up happening, a very big rarity in our events. It's almost like this was, oh my God, almost like a forebearer of what I haven't been able to talk to her about what happened, but suffice to say, something very intense for her role. And she's so beautiful and sensitive. And I only briefly saw her as I was rushing around like a mad woman cleaning up on Sunday night. But I felt what happened, how that affected her. And for not a short period of time, I was a little upset that I didn't perceive myself to have the time to stop. And that's on me. I could have stopped. But it's tough when you're working a 17-hour day nonstop and then have to be up, at 3 something again the next morning to fly out. I mean, I just wanted to get the work done, and I didn't feel like I could hold the proper space for her. But it's crazy. And as that has sort of settled in a little bit, this has even more meaning. That's the part I'm going to share about E, and about, vague as that may be, about her gifting this to me. And I want to tag 3 more storylines, connect this, and sort of just sort of state generally what this represents in my life right now, and why it was such a big sign for me. The first I referenced in a video that I released yet last night on my Facebook business page that was recorded on June 29th. In Ironman, I had just gotten the gig with Ironman, and I knew it wasn't accidental. And I will say again, I am not there accidentally or coincidentally. Not at all. I am in that world for reasons far beyond this world. I'm certain of it, and I've been certain of it from day one. And this just proves that again. Not that I need any further proof, and I don't need to prove it to anybody. It's unbelievable to me. And in that video, I talked about writing a TV show. The potential that I felt like, man, I don't know, if I had to project out, just the way that I could feel it. Well, I shared that with somebody that's a music teacher and a musician and works as a contractor out of the Houston races and the West Coast. I shared it with this guy, we're going to call him M. I shared it with him on the way to the airport at the end of our Boulder event 3 years ago. And I said, man, wouldn't that be amazing if I wrote a show that was somehow based on the Ironman experience and you composed the music? And we were kind of like shits and giggles. I just threw it out there, right? Well, a few weeks ago, I haven't seen him in so long because I haven't been out on the West Coast. I've only been out there for the Arizona races and he's not on those, so I haven't seen him. I sent him a text. I said, man, hey, I don't even know if you'll remember me, but I wanted to just throw something back on your radar screen and just throw it out there and see what you felt, if anything. And his reaction was amazing. He's like, absolutely absolutely I'm interested. So I want to say like a weak correlation perhaps, certainly from the surface level and just hearing it for the first time. Somebody might be like, well, okay, I guess I can see how that's music related. But I'm doing the best I can to convey these deep connections, knowing that I'm going to get better at reaching for the right words and reaching for the right parts of these stories to connect, to convey the depth of what I'm feeling and the vision and the picture I see. So, M, Ironman contractor, out of Houston, middle school music teacher. I was a middle school geography teacher. I played piano all the way through middle school. From 1st grade through 8th grade, I played the clarinet in middle school. And I'm pretty sure he's a clarinet player, actually, if I remember correctly. But a lot of times band teachers are able to play multiple instruments, but they have one that's their forte. Another great story regarding him and his bicycle crew for that race a few years ago. One of the best stories on the circuit that I won't share tonight, but very much musically related. And just kind of, again, dropping this now here 4 years later, it's not that much further along than it was 4 years ago from this idea phase, but Ironman world and people in that world, boy, things can manifest fast and are. So it's going to be really interesting to see where that goes in the next 12 months. The second way that's a little bit more directly related is music. I was an athlete. I went the sports route. I struggled in middle school even keeping up with piano and band, because that's when sports, like organized sports, really entered my life in a big way in school in 7th grade, and my world changed dramatically. And I couldn't help, I went the sports route and I sort of ditched the music. And back when I had my awakening in Michigan, I happened to be in Michigan, music re-entered my life in a big way, especially dancing. I hadn't danced like that since middle school. And I didn't think anything could move me again, could move me like athletics and sports and physical exertion. I didn't think anything could move me like that until I started to dance and sing and drum. And for myself, I've honed in my tons and tons of ideas and projects down to 3. Again, my thing with 3. And one of my 3 focuses that I identified as a primary focus just less than 2 months ago was music. Like music, singing and dancing. And if you were to look, on my YouTube channel, you could see specifically with the dancing, but the singing's in there too, of me slowly because it takes some courage to let yourself express in these new ways that I'm expressing. So music was one of my 3 focuses. Crazy. And finally, I kind of come back to the orchestra of my life. The orchestra of my life. Because that's what I feel like I'm doing with my storylines. It's like, and what I'm going to be doing increasingly in these videos, in these recordings. And if I get a radio show, which I'm applying for in the next couple of weeks, this is one way I could take that radio show. One of the reasons I haven't applied yet is I could take a radio show in a lot of directions, and I've got a lot of different names. But this is one of the ways. This would be called Stories of Synchronicity. This is one of the ways I can imagine doing a regular weekly program where I'm telling a story through the character of Alyson with the intent that it's not just my story. It's going to look like my story, but I'm telling you the way I tell my story